couple of trades just went down that we get to talk about on the show. We had 2 trades, and they came from the 2 teams on the bottom of your screen. We'll talk about those. We'll also talk about 2 potential trades that could be made for the 2 teams on the top of your screen. But let's talk about what we've already seen go down, and that is with the LA Rams. We'll start there. The Los Angeles Rams have added a corner to the roster. They went out and got Roger McCreary from the Tennessee Titans. The trade includes a 2026 conditional 5th-round pick. The Rams will receive a conditional 6th-round pick along with McCreary. So, Jake, talk to me about this trade. One, what do you think of the player? And then also, in addition, tell me why you think this particular move was made by the Rams prior to the deadline, which, by the way, is 1 week from today.
Yeah, I really like the move. Go out and get better. I called this kind of like going out, if you're like an MLB team and, you don't always have to make the biggest move. Sometimes you're just missing that one piece in your bullpen. This is kind of that move. This is a touch-up piece. Roger McCreary is a starting caliber corner that has inside-outside versatility. I understand Titans fans will probably be pissed I said that because they'll be like, there's no way he can play on the outside. He can. He's had success. He also struggled. I think they pulled him way too early in his career, but I would say this is a really good pickup. The versatility is another chess piece for Chris Shula's defense. The physicality is, exactly what the Rams want. Somebody that can blitz and actually finish with a sack. And, he's a good tackler and can help in run support. Ironically, the trade is going to involve the Titans taking back their pick that the Rams acquired for Ernest Jones. So there was already a little bit of a connection there with the Titans. But I think this makes a lot of sense because first, Les Snead, he likes his Auburn Tigers. He follows them well. He has a lot of connections in that program. And they liked McCreary when he came out of Auburn. So this is somebody that they clearly liked during the draft process and probably were interested in this offseason. And now he becomes available. They get a deal done. I don't know what the Titans are really doing because they also traded away, the kid out of Louisville, Brownlee, who's on the Jets and playing well. But I think for the Rams, this makes a lot of sense because Akello's out and Darius Williams is dealing with an injury. So he will likely be ready to go against the 49ers, but won't play this week in all likelihood. So you're down to Emmanuel Forbes, you're down to Kobe Durant, and they just cut Trey Brown. So McCreary's going to slide right in there as number 3. And they want to kind of use a rotation. So McCreary's going to get an opportunity on this team. And this is the first time the Rams have made a trade around the trade deadline since the year they won the Super Bowl when they went out and got Von Miller. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make another move. I honestly think they should.
Well, I guess I'll piggyback off of that then. If you do think they make another move, defensively or offensively, are they going to kind of go with the thing they've already kind of shown here and stick on that side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball?
I'm going to say offensively. I think their defense is set. I mean, I think their offense is set. I still think this is the team to beat. But that said, they lost Tutu Atwell this weekend, or rather last weekend. He was gutting out a hamstring injury. And, I don't really know why because they were dominating the Jaguars, but he re-injured his hamstring, and now they're going to be without him for a month. And you asked Jesse at the game that we were at how important Tutu Atwell was for that comeback. So you're losing a really explosive player. So my eyes tend to go towards, well, the Rams have 9 picks to play with. They could go out and get somebody big, and honestly, I believe that's what they should do. I think they should go after Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know if he is available, to be honest with you, but that is what I would do. That said, I think Rashid Shaheed makes a lot of sense. I also think if the Raiders are serious about trading Trey Tucker, I think he makes a lot of sense as well because you're going to be without that explosive weapon for at least a month, maybe even longer with Tutu Atwell. And I do think, even though I'm very high on everybody on this team, I'm very high on their roster, and I'm very high on this offense. And they have Konate Mumfield, who I'm also very high on, as well as Jordan Whittington. I think this is the year. You got to strike while the iron's hot. And if you feel like Tutu Atwell is a significant loss that, yeah, okay, these guys can fill the role, but can they fill it and add that much, explosiveness? And are you going to be missing that? If you are, I think Shaheed, who you'd only owe, I think, $1.6 million the rest of the year to from the Saints, or, Trey Tucker with the Raiders would make a lot of sense. So that's where I'm at on that. I would go to BTJ. That's personally what I would do, and I wouldn't be afraid to give up one of my first-round picks to get him because I don't like this draft for quarterback.
I couldn't agree more. My Bills have been linked to him, and my first thought, Jake, was, why are they getting rid of him? Well, why is Jacksonville looking to move off of them if they actually are? That's when that isn't quite adding up to me, you know?
The whole regime change, man. Like we were just talking about this off air with Vrabel. That you can actually, if you pay attention, that's why I feel like anybody that is a decent team should be buying at every deadline, because you'll always find a team that is coming off a regime change and they're getting rid of good players on the cheap.
It feels like maybe it's hey, listen, we just traded the farm for Travis Hunter and we want to feature him more, so let's just get rid of Brian Thomas. I have no idea.
I think that's what it could be. My one concern, to be fair, if they were to get rid of him, it's the soft tissue stuff. So maybe that's kind of like, okay, we don't love his durability. Maybe that's a question for them. I could see that. But I mean, personally, I don't know why you would trade him. He's under control until 2029. My bad. That's a baseball term. But anyway, the point being is that he won't be a free agent until 2029. You have the 5th-year option. You have the explosive big playability, and he's cost effective. I keep seeing people mention Jalen Waddle, and I'll probably bring him up on my channel. But Jalen Waddle, you're going to have to pay him that awful contract that the Dolphins structured. Now, I'm not saying he's not worth the deal. I'm saying the Rams, the Bills, whoever, have a certain way of orchestrating contracts. When you trade for a player, you are getting the contract and how it was basically orchestrated by this team. And I'll tell you right now, I don't want anything to do with Chris Greer's contract.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they wind up making another move. I'm going to be really interested to see if the Jacksonville Jaguars decide to move off of BTR there, or BT Jr., just because I don't get it, really. And it's not a team that it looks terrible enough to where you're going to be selling to a point where you'd want to get rid of a top guy like that.
Yeah.
But we'll keep an eye out. Well, speaking of moves, by the way, the Rams weren't the only one to make a move on the defensive side of the ball. Jesse, your 49ers got active as well. They make a trade with the New England Patriots. The Patriots send defensive end Keon White to the 49ers. New England will get a 2026 6th-round pick for a 2026 7th-rounder and White. So it's interesting. We talked last week as to whether or not the 49ers might be a buyer or a seller, depending on how they view the season moving forward here. So we don't know what's to come within the next week, but as of right now, they're buyers. So what do you make of this move for San Francisco? What does this mean moving forward?
Well, first of all, my heart skipped a beat when you said Rashid Shaheed to the Rams. If that happens, that's the one that scares the piss out of me, because he can take the top off of a defense at any time. You add him to those receivers and Puka and Devontae Adams, that's absolutely terrifying. So no to that one, and I could see that one happening.
I thought you did like it, so I wasn't.
No, dude. Listen.
Okay.
That's the scariest thing. That the Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas Jr. is a good, especially for the future if you're trying to build around it. But like the way that this team is constructed now, adding Rashid Shaheed is absolutely terrifying. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, when I look at the 49ers trade for Keon White, I love the trade. I had just made a short or a TikTok, whatever, right before they made the trade. And I said, listen, I don't think the 49ers are going to be in on a Kayvon Thibodeau or somebody like that, just because I don't think that they're going to be willing to part with a pick within the first 4 rounds. I think their 5th round or later is what they're going to be looking at. This ended up being a pick swap, which you always love. You trade a 6th rounder, you get the player in the 7th round pick. And you get a guy who was talented coming out of a draft a couple years ago, was a 2nd round pick. He's a bigger defensive end. He's not super bendy. He's not a speed guy. But I envision the 49ers at their best. First of all, he's under contract through next year, which is nice. But I think the 49ers at their best in the future have Bosa on one end. They have Huff on the other. 3rd down, you have Williams, and then you have White rushing from the middle. And I think that that's a package that you can get home with. So ultimately, I do like the trade. They only had 2 healthy defensive ends. I believe that they are probably in. Maybe they still are on a guy like Mazzie Smith. I do think that they called the Jets about, McDonald and Johnson. Ultimately, those guys are probably going to go for more than like a 5th round pick. So they just weren't able to pry him away. I know that they just add Cleveland Farrell back to their practice squad. So, they are trying to add some more bodies for sure. But I think this is the right move. You get a young player who Chris Kasarik can try to develop. Maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it turns into a Charles Omenihu type of player or an Arden Key. He's done this a few times over. Nothing special, but a guy that can certainly contribute. You're not giving up major future assets. So I like the trade. There's just, you're not losing much with it. You're taking a flyer on a guy who was talented and was a high draft pick a couple years ago, and we'll see what happens with it.
And he was their best pass rusher last year.
Yeah, he was. I mean, to be fair, there was nobody else on that defense.
I know.
But
I like the move for you guys. Like, as a football
I
fan,
do too.
I really do like it.
It makes sense. And again, it's low risk, high reward is the way that I see it. I have zero issue with it. Yeah.
Let's hear from these two handsome gentlemen on the top of your screen. It's been far too long. They're bored. They're thinking about what's coming after the bye and what could be coming down the pipe here. Could be a potential trade in the mix. A week, once again, from today is the trade deadline. Brandon, I want to start with you because right now, your Seattle Seahawks, they are at the top of the division. They're 5-2, and I would argue they're primed to get another W this upcoming week, the way the Commanders have looked. We'll talk about that, of course, in a little bit here, but this is a team that's really hitting stride right now. They're grooving, and they're currently at the top. Is there anything you look at right now that you think if the Seahawks go and do this within the next week, they could take them from where they're at right now to maybe another level that unlocks the ability to really go the distance in 2025? Or is there maybe somebody you think you move off of and kind of secure maybe an asset for down the line to make this team even better in the near future here?
I definitely don't think you're in a position at this point to be in sell mode whatsoever, and that you are going to look to try to upgrade where you can. But the key here is where you can and what is available. The pool is tiny. This is smaller than a little child's pool out in the front yard that you've inflated. There's very few guys you can go get right now. And so we have few positions really we could look to upgrade. Our whole defense is going to be healthy and return for the first time after the bye. Offensively, everybody's holding the line pretty well, aside from Anthony Bradford, who is kind of playing right around close to the bottom of the barrel for the position right now. So there's your immediate point to where you could upgrade. A problem being nobody's giving out any right guards, and at the best of times in the off season. Before free agency. So you're left going, okay, was there anything there? And the one guy I come to, or the two guys I come to, are Wyatt Teller with the Cleveland Browns and then Zeitler with the Tennessee Titans. Both of those guys have been around the block. I think you could get them acclimated in the system relatively quickly. And the baseline is not particularly low that they've got to clear in order to get you better performance. And I think that would help things mightily across the board, because it's always said your offensive line is not, measured by its greatest asset or the most dominating factor. It's measured by your weakest link. And our weakest link right now is pretty bad.
Yeah, if that can shore up. I mean, we talked about how complete this team is. If that can wind up getting shored up a little bit, it really does feel like the Seahawks, who are right now really playing like one of the better teams in the NFL, they can take another step forward, really cause some havoc in the NFC. Mike, let's look at your side of things here with the Arizona Cardinals. 2-5, playing Dallas on Monday night. I mean, that's a team that can score, sure, but I would imagine the Arizona Cardinals should be able to put up 30 plus the way this defense is playing. So anything could go down on Monday night. But before Tuesday, what do you think Arizona does, if anything? And are you leaning maybe towards this team right now being at the bottom of the division, maybe moving off a guy or two? And if so, who do you think that might be?
Yeah, I mean, this team is so interesting. We lose 5 straight games with 13 points. Whenever you're hearing anybody talking within the organization, they still feel like they're in it. Now, it sucks that everybody in this division is 5-2 and we're 2-5. But when you're looking at the amount of games left, we got 10 games left. I mean, technically, you're not mathematically out yet, but this is such a fascinating topic because I think it really just depends on what happens here on Monday Night Football. If the Cardinals somehow beat the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night, which Kyler Murray has had a very, very good record at AT&T Stadium, and I believe he's 2-0 against the Dallas Cowboys when he's played them. But you just never know what's going to happen for the Cardinals. Now, I would love the Cardinals to potentially be, buyers and potentially sellers, but I can see either or. I can see them be both as well. Now, I really wanted Monty Ossenfort to do something before the season kind of got awry, and now we're kind of sitting here because we've been dealing with the whole run game or lack of run game since James Conner was healthy. And unfortunately, Trey Benson, once he got the opportunity to be that dog for us, he got hurt as well, and he landed himself on the IR. But the Cardinals are getting healthy right now. I don't know if you guys heard about B.J. Ojulari is finally coming back. We all thought he was a myth at one point. It's what the hell, the Mandela effect? What's going on with B.J. Ojulari? We haven't heard from him in a very long time, and now we heard that this coming Thursday, the window's going to open up for him. Garrett Williams is supposed to be having a 21-day window, and I believe Walsh Nolan, 16th overall pick, Jake's and Brandon's favorite on here, that he's going to be hopefully making his debut here on Monday Night Football versus the Dallas Cowboys. But when I'm looking at the trade deadline, I'm looking at the running back, man. I feel like if we somehow shore up that run game, and I don't think it's going to be you get a player, you're going to fix your run game. No, there's a lot of things that have to gonna take into account here. But I would love the Arizona Cardinals to go after a Breece Hall. Now I know for the people out there saying, "Oh, you're 2-5. Why would you do that?" Well, I mean, we got 2026, 2027 as well. Like the Cardinals right now, they are in these games. The only game we were quote unquote blown out by, and it didn't really show that way at the end of the game, was the Seahawks game. But other than that, we stood toe to toe with the Colts, we stood toe to toe with the Green Bay Packers, and those are Super Bowl favorites, or those are playoff team favorites, right? So I think the Arizona Cardinals are potentially a player or two away. Now, can they be sellers as well? Yeah, they can. Unfortunately, we got a guy named Calais Campbell that some people are kind of already potentially saying that he might get traded away if the Cardinals season goes awry, which let's be right, it's kind of awry right now. But him, maybe Buda Baker's always been kind of in conversation whenever the trade deadline comes around. So if the Cardinals are sellers, maybe look for names like that where the Cardinals are offloading maybe big contracts or guys that are older, maybe seeking a better opportunity. But if the Cardinals are buyers, man, I would love a running back. And I'm still on the whole Jacoby Myers train. If the Cardinals can somehow swing that, I feel like that would be amazing for the Cardinals.
Of sleeper, speaking of Thursday night football, like I said, Lamar Jackson should be back, fellas. I mean, last time we heard this, the NFL, they got in some hot water. And the Baltimore Ravens got in some hot water. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But in all likelihood, we will see Lamar Jackson against TD's Miami Dolphins in a massive bottom of the AFC showdown on Thursday night football. And over on Sleeper, I've crafted up a quick slip for you to root for, or of course, create your own for Thursday night football. But mine contains Lamar Jackson with the free pick, more than a half yard. Derrick Henry to get in the end zone against one of the poorer rushing defenses in the NFL. And then Jalen Waddle to have more than 61.5 receiving yards. That's good for a 3x multiplier. If you want to tell that one or create your own, link in the description below. Click that and sign up for Sleeper. Once you do, you will get a 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit using the promo code RTS. And before you even make your first deposit, you'll be able to check out Sleeper completely free. You click it, you download it, you create an account, boom, you have a free $20 to use on Thursday night football or any other sport. I mean, last night would have been perfect. It was the sports equinox last night, but still plenty of opportunities down the pipeline, including week 9, NBA, NHL. You can do it all on Sleeper. Link in the description below. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently available in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.